first off, I want to thank all you guys for coming out here and giving me the opportunity to share what for me is a real special event, stacking rocks. And I developed it into what I call a spiritual practice. And the reason I call it that, why I call it a practice, is I do it every day. So that, keeps me, is afforded me to gain some discipline, to find rock, get out every day, find some rocks, no matter what the weather, no matter what the conditions. And my practice is to erect 5 sculptures a day. And sometimes I do much more, but if I do 5, my practice for the day is done. And I can still continue the play part of it. And it came to me, I was on August 2009, I was visiting my daughter and grandkids up in Toronto, Ontario, and went down to a beach. I was walking with my granddaughter, who was about 5 years old, and we came across about a dozen things sort of set up like this, but bigger. And there was 2 other guys there, and we're kind of going like, what? How is that possible? I mean, it was astounding. And we were puzzled, and we were kind of like looking for steel rods or something that was hinging them together and not finding that. And my granddaughter knocked one over inadvertently. It was a good sized rock. And I picked it up and I was trying to put it back and just wasn't happening. And this Asian woman about my age came over and nudged me aside, and she pointed to the spot she was going to set it, and it was like a little dimple. And she called it it was maybe a Japanese word or something. I would call it a cradle or a dimple or something shaped like this that could receive an end like this. And I just watched her it was almost like a dance, putting it into position. And it was there. And I talked to her for a bit, and she'd set those up to take a picture for a cover of a book she was publishing. Unfortunately, I never got her name. So that probably sparked me to later on decide to do this as a practice. And so it was March 16th, 2010, I was back up there. It was in the 70s, which is pretty warm for March in Canada. Went back down to the beach and saw the rocks all scattered around, laying around there, and decided to start playing with them. And my daughter, who's pretty much a photographer, was taking pictures, and later on I saw the picture she'd taken, and there was me doing my thing, and over on the side, sitting with a whole pile of little rocks around her, was my granddaughter, 5 years old. And when I saw that, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And that was what sparked me to develop this as a practice. And it wasn't, I didn't consider it a spiritual practice at the time, but as I developed it, I realized the calming effect it had for me. The ability to focus on something and not, my problem is in my world, I jump on a thought and I ride off with it and I'm gone, and it gave me the ability to not latch on to things. I mean, they didn't go away, but by focusing, it was a meditative type of thing. And it's also, I guess it's an art form. And I've kind of figured it may be the most primitive art form that we've got. There's no tools. I just take rocks and handle them. And it's an attractive thing. When I'm out doing it, especially kids, they're not shy. They come up and say, how do you do that? What are you doing? And I show them. And so what we're going to do today is I'll just give you a basic example. I mean, I did one there, but it's finding a little divot on a spot. And my first part of the practice was just finding a stone I could put into that. And that was my beginning, just finding ones I could set up on a point. And then after that, it's taken to counterbalancing and doing it the other way so the point's on top. And then doing points to points. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff that, it's some of the people I met that do this claim that the rocks are the teachers. And that's what I believe. Why why does that rock the one I pick up? I mean, I believe there's some sort of communication going on between us and our rocks. And I know that it's pretty common. I know I've done it. Most people that I know, out for a rock, I walk on the beach and, oh, that one. You know where it goes? Another one captured. So, you know, that's how the glaciers move them around, but we do the same thing. I mean, we're just moving them. And in the process, we get to handle them in different ways. And the friend of mine, I don't know if Peter's here, who lives around here, I met him on this beach 2 years ago, because I met some friends online, mostly on Facebook, that do this practice. And I came down here in August 2012, and we worked out here side by side when it was raining sideways and cold in August, you know. But our dedication to doing this is what, you know, I had to get my 5 up. And the first thing I believe the rocks taught me, and then we're going to take a break from this, I love to talk, by the way, is the first thing I believe that came to me from doing this practice is that everything we set up will one day topple over, including me. You know, so that was a very settling influence. That I got to realize the whole life is ephemeral. You know, I mean, we build these magnificent structures, but you know what? It's just a rock. That's what I believe.